Before we get into the story, leave a comment and let us know what city you're watching from. And don't forget to rate the story from 0 to 10 at the end. Enjoy the story. The afternoon sun filtered through floor-to-ceiling windows, casting golden rectangles across the polished marble floor of the Grandview Hotel lobby. Cassandra Munro stood near the concierge desk, her worn canvas tote bag clutched against her side, trying not to look as out of place as she felt. Around her, guests in designer clothes glided past, their laughter echoing off the vaulted ceilings, their conversations peppered with mentions of vacation homes and yacht clubs. She tugged at the hem of her simple gray blazer, the one she'd worn to every important meeting for the past 3 years, and checked her phone again. The message was still there, glowing on her cracked screen. $500 for one evening, just dinner with a family. Nothing complicated. She'd responded to the ad out of desperation. Rent was due in 4 days, and her freelance editing work had dried up faster than she'd anticipated. The posting had been vague but professional. Someone seeking a +1 for a family gathering. No strings attached. Payment up front. It sounded too good to be true, which meant it probably was. But Cassandra had learned that sometimes you had to take risks when your bank account showed 2 digits. A deep voice cut through her thoughts. Cassandra Munro? She turned. The man standing before her made her breath catch, though she'd never admit it. Tall, easily over 6 feet, with dark hair swept back from a face that belonged on magazine covers, sharp jawline, intense hazel eyes that seemed to assess everything in a single glance. His charcoal suit was tailored to perfection, the kind that cost more than her entire wardrobe. A silver watch glinted at his wrist. "That's me," she managed, straightening her spine. "You must be," she hesitated, realizing she only had a first name from the messages. Nathaniel? Nathaniel Hartley. His handshake was firm, professional, but his gaze lingered on her face for a moment longer than necessary. "Thank you for coming." "I wasn't sure you would." Cassandra raised an eyebrow. $500 is persuasive. His lips twitched, almost a smile. "Fair enough. Shall we?" He gestured toward the hotel's restaurant, but Cassandra held her ground. "Before we go anywhere, I need to know exactly what I'm getting into. The ad said, 'Dinner with your family.' That's it, right? No weird requests? No uncomfortable situations?" Nathaniel's expression shifted, something like respect flickering in his eyes. "Smart." "No, nothing like that. It's exactly as advertised. My family has certain expectations about my personal life, and I'd rather not spend the evening deflecting questions about why I'm still single. You're here to play the role of my girlfriend for approximately 3 hours. Smile, make small talk, and help me avoid an interrogation." Cassandra studied him. There was something guarded in his posture, despite the confident exterior. "And why couldn't you find a real girlfriend for this?" Nathaniel's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Let's just say my schedule doesn't allow for traditional relationships, and the women in my social circle come with complications I'd rather avoid. This is simpler. A business transaction." She should have walked away. Every instinct told her this was a terrible idea. But then she thought of her landlord's last warning, the overdue student loan payment, the electricity bill sitting unopened on her kitchen counter. Sometimes you did what you had to do. "Fine," she said, "but I need the payment up front. Half now, half after." Nathaniel pulled out his phone, tapped a few buttons. "Check your account." Cassandra's phone buzzed. Her banking app showed a deposit, $250 just like that. Her heart hammered. "Okay. So what's the story? How did we meet?" He gestured for her to walk with him toward a private elevator. "We met at a charity event 3 months ago. You're a freelance editor working on your first novel. We bonded over a shared love of classic literature. Keep it vague. Let me handle most of the details. Your job is to be charming and believable. As they stepped into the elevator, Cassandra caught her reflection in the mirrored walls. Next to Nathaniel, the contrast was stark. He radiated wealth and power. She looked exactly like what she was, someone trying to make rent. "This is never going to work," she muttered. "They'll see right through me." Nathaniel glanced at her, and for the first time, his expression softened slightly. "You'd be surprised. People see what they want to see. Besides, you have something most women in my world don't." "What's that?" "Authenticity." The elevator doors opened onto the penthouse level. Cassandra's stomach flipped. Of course, his family dinner was in a penthouse. The hallway was lined with abstract art that probably cost more than her college education. Nathaniel paused before a set of double doors, turning to face her. Last chance to back out. Cassandra thought of her empty refrigerator, her maxed-out credit card, the dream of financial stability that seemed to slip further away each month. "I'm in." "Good." He reached for the door handle, then stopped. "One more thing. Try to look like you actually like me." She forced a smile. "How's this?" Nathaniel's eyes crinkled at the corners, a genuine smile breaking through his controlled facade. "Perfect. Keep that up, and we might actually pull this off." He opened the door, and Cassandra stepped into a world of gleaming crystal, soft piano music, and the overwhelming scent of expensive perfume and fresh flowers. The penthouse suite had been transformed into an elegant dining room. Round tables draped in ivory cloth, centerpieces of white orchids, and enough silverware to make Cassandra's head spin. About 20 people mingled near a bar area, their conversations a low hum of privilege. "Nathaniel." "Darling." A woman in a floor-length emerald gown swept toward them, her silver hair styled in an elegant updo, diamonds dripping from her ears and throat. Cassandra recognized the predatory assessment in her eyes immediately. This must be the infamous girlfriend we've been hearing absolutely nothing about. Nathaniel's hand found the small of Cassandra's back, warm and steady. "Mother, this is Cassandra Monroe." "Cassandra, my mother." "Victoria Hartley." Cassandra extended her hand. "Mrs. Hartley, it's lovely to meet you." Victoria's handshake was brief, her skin cool and dry. Her gaze swept over Cassandra from head to toe, missing nothing. Not the off-the-rack blazer, not the scuffed heels, not the absence of jewelry beyond a simple watch. "How delightful," Victoria said, her tone suggesting it was anything but. "Nathaniel, you didn't mention Cassandra worked in such a creative field." Before Cassandra could respond, Nathaniel pulled her closer, his voice carrying an edge she hadn't heard before. "Cassandra is brilliant. Her insights on narrative structure are remarkable. I'm lucky she agreed to join us tonight." Another man approached, younger than Victoria, but with the same sharp features as Nathaniel. The brother, Cassandra guessed. Well, Nathaniel actually brought someone. "I'm Marcus, the better-looking Hartley." His grin was charming but calculating. Cassandra shook his hand, determined not to be intimidated. "Nice to meet you, Marcus. I've heard absolutely nothing about you," which I'm told is a compliment in this family. Marcus laughed, genuine surprise in his eyes. "I like her. She's got spine." Victoria's smile tightened. "Dinner will be served in 10 minutes. Nathaniel, do introduce Cassandra around. Try not to let her feel too overwhelmed by the company." As Victoria glided away, Cassandra leaned close to Nathaniel. "Your mother hates me. That was fast, even for me." Nathaniel's hand remained on her back, steadying. "She doesn't hate you. She doesn't know you. Give it time." "Time?" Cassandra hissed. "You hired me for 3 hours, not a lifetime." His eyes met hers, and something flickered there, amusement mixed with something deeper. "Then let's make these 3 hours count. Stay close to me, follow my lead, and remember, you're here because I chose you. That's all that matters." Before Cassandra could process that statement, a distinguished older man with silver temples approached, extending his hand to Nathaniel. "Son, good to see you." "Dad," Nathaniel said, his posture shifting slightly, more formal. "This is Cassandra Monroe. Cassandra, my father, Jonathan Hartley." Jonathan's handshake was firmer than Victoria's, his eyes kinder. "Lovely to meet you, Cassandra. Any woman who can tolerate my son's schedule deserves a medal." Cassandra smiled, relaxing a fraction. "I'm still deciding if he's worth the trouble." Jonathan laughed, a genuine sound that made others turn to look. "I like her, Nathaniel. Don't screw this up." As Jonathan moved away, Cassandra whispered, "Your dad seems nice." Nathaniel's expression was unreadable. He's the only one who is. The next hour was a blur of introductions. Faces and names Cassandra knew she'd never remember. Cousins and business associates, family friends, and distant relatives. She smiled until her cheeks ached, made small talk about weather and art and nothing of substance, and tried to ignore the way Nathaniel's hand never left her waist, anchoring her in this sea of wealth and judgment. Dinner was an elaborate affair. 7 courses of food Cassandra couldn't pronounce, served on china so delicate she was afraid to touch it. She'd been seated between Nathaniel and an elderly aunt, who spent the entire meal discussing her poodle's digestive issues. Across the table, Victoria watched like a hawk, her sharp eyes catching every misstep, every moment of hesitation when Cassandra reached for the wrong fork. "So, Cassandra," Victoria's voice cut through the general conversation, drawing everyone's attention. "Nathaniel mentioned you're working on a novel. What's it about?" Cassandra's mind went blank. She hadn't prepared for this. "It's," she started, then felt Nathaniel's hand find hers under the table, warm and reassuring. "It's about second chances. A woman who's made mistakes trying to rebuild her life in a world that's already judged her." "How autobiographical," Victoria murmured, taking a sip of wine. Cassandra felt heat rise to her cheeks, but before she could respond, Nathaniel squeezed her hand. "Actually, Mother, I find the theme quite relevant. We all make judgments based on surface impressions. Cassandra's work explores what happens when we look deeper." The table fell silent. Cassandra could feel the tension crackling between mother and son, years of unspoken conflict playing out in a single exchange. Marcus broke the silence with a laugh. "Well, this got uncomfortable fast. Who's ready for dessert?" As servers cleared plates and brought out an elaborate chocolate creation, Nathaniel leaned close to Cassandra's ear. "I need some air. Come with me." They excused themselves, slipping out onto a private terrace that overlooked the city. The night air was cool against Cassandra's flushed skin. Below, the city lights stretched endlessly, a galaxy of possibilities she'd never quite reached. "I'm sorry," Nathaniel said, loosening his tie. "My mother can be difficult." "Difficult?" Cassandra turned to face him. She looked at me like I crawled out of a dumpster. "To be fair, compared to the usual company she keeps, you probably register as a completely different species." He smiled, but there was bitterness in it. "Don't take it personally." "She'd hate anyone I brought." Cassandra leaned against the railing. "Why?" "Because they wouldn't be her choice." Nathaniel joined her at the railing, their shoulders almost touching. "My mother has very specific ideas about what my life should look like, who I should marry, what alliances would benefit the family business, how I should present myself to the world. This dinner, it's not about celebrating family. It's about reminding me that I'm not living up to her expectations." "And yet you're worth millions," Cassandra said. "CEO of your own company, If the research I did earlier is accurate, what more could she want? Nathaniel looked at her, surprise in his eyes. You researched me? After you deposited money in my account, I figured I should know who I was dealing with. Nathaniel Hartley, 32, CEO of Hartley Investments, youngest person to make the Forbes Billionaire list 3 years running, known for being ruthless in business and non-existent in your personal life. The tabloids call you the Ice Prince. He laughed, the sound unexpected and genuine. The Ice Prince? That's a new one. I prefer emotionally unavailable. It's more accurate. Cassandra studied his profile in the city lights. Why are you really single, Nathaniel? It can't just be about time. Someone with your resources could make time for anything you wanted. He was quiet for a long moment, his jaw working. You want the truth? Always. He turned to face her fully, his eyes intense in the dim light. Every woman I've dated has wanted something. Access to my world, my money, my connections. They saw Nathaniel Hartley, billionaire, not Nathaniel, person. After a while, it gets exhausting pretending that doesn't matter. So you hired a fake girlfriend to avoid real complications. Cassandra shook her head. That's incredibly sad. His eyes flashed. Says the woman who took money to pretend to like me. Touché. They stood in silence, the tension between them shifting, becoming something less hostile. Cassandra found herself noticing details she'd missed before, the way his hair fell across his forehead when he wasn't carefully controlling it, the small scar above his left eyebrow, the vulnerability hidden beneath layers of expensive clothing and practiced control. For what it's worth, Cassandra said quietly, I don't think you're ice. I think you're afraid. Nathaniel's eyes snapped to hers. Excuse me. You surround yourself with money and power because it's safer than letting people close enough to hurt you. I get it. I do the same thing, just with fewer zeros in my bank account. Something shifted in Nathaniel's expression, his carefully maintained mask cracking. You don't know anything about me. I know you brought a complete stranger to your family dinner rather than risk being vulnerable with someone real. I know you're standing out here with me instead of in there with them, because this, right now, is more genuine than anything happening inside. I know that despite everything, you've been kind to me tonight, when you didn't have to be. Nathaniel stepped closer, and Cassandra's breath caught. The scent of his cologne, cedar, and something spicy wrapped around her. Cassandra, he started, then stopped, his gaze dropping to her lips before rising back to her eyes. This is just business, remember? Is it? The words were out before she could stop them. Because it doesn't feel like business right now. The terrace door opened, and Marcus's voice cut through the moment. There you are. Mother's about to serve coffee, and she's giving me that look like I'm supposed to fetch you. Come on, lovebirds. Nathaniel stepped back quickly, his professional mask sliding back into place. We should go. Right. Cassandra wrapped her arms around herself as they headed inside. Business. That's all this was. But as they returned to the table, Nathaniel's hand found hers again, and she couldn't quite convince herself that the warmth spreading through her chest was just from the wine. The rest of the evening passed in a haze. Cassandra answered questions, laughed at appropriate moments, and played her role perfectly. But she was hyper-aware of Nathaniel beside her. The way his thumb traced absent circles on her palm when he thought no one was looking. The way he leaned close when explaining something, his breath warm against her ear. Finally, mercifully, the dinner began to wind down. Guests started making their goodbyes, air kisses and promises to lunch soon. Victoria approached them, her expression carefully neutral. Cassandra, how nice of you to join us. I do hope we'll be seeing more of you. The statement was clearly a test, and Cassandra knew Victoria expected her to fail it. She smiled sweetly. I hope so too, Mrs. Hartley. Any woman would be lucky to spend time with your family. Victoria's eyes narrowed slightly, but before she could respond, Jonathan appeared, clapping Nathaniel on the shoulder. Well done, son. Bring her around more often. She's good for you. As they made their final escape, reaching the elevator, Cassandra finally let herself breathe. I survived. Nathaniel pressed the button for the lobby. You did more than survive. You were perfect. The elevator descended in silence. Cassandra watched the floor numbers drop, each one bringing her closer to the moment when this fantasy ended and real life resumed. Bills and deadlines, and an empty apartment. The elevator dinged, doors opening to the lobby. This was it. Transaction complete. Nathaniel walked her toward the main entrance, his stride measured and controlled again. So, Cassandra said, trying to keep her voice light. Do I get a review? 5 stars. Would hire again? He stopped just inside the doors, turning to face her. His hand reached into his jacket, pulled out an envelope. The rest of your payment, plus extra. You earned it. Cassandra took the envelope. Heavy with cash. She should thank him and leave. Go home. Deposit this money. And forget this entire strange evening. But she couldn't make her feet move. Nathaniel, I meant what I said earlier. You're not what people think you are. His smile was sad. Neither are you. They stood there, strangers who'd shared something real in the middle of something fake, neither quite ready to end it. Cassandra finally stepped back. Good luck with your mother. He laughed softly. Good luck with your novel. She turned toward the door, made it 3 steps before his voice stopped her. Cassandra. Wait. She turned. Nathaniel stood backlit by the hotel's chandeliers, his hands in his pockets, looking suddenly uncertain in a way that made him seem younger, more human. Would you? He started, then shook his head. Never mind. It's late. You should go. But Cassandra found herself walking back toward him, curiosity overriding common sense. Would I what? He studied her face, as if trying to solve a complicated equation. Would you have dinner with me? A real dinner, not a performance. No family, no pretense, just us. Cassandra's heart kicked against her ribs. That's not part of the deal, I know. That's why I'm asking. She should say no. This was exactly the kind of complication she couldn't afford, emotionally or otherwise. Rich men didn't date women like her in the real world. This was a fantasy, and fantasies ended badly. But there was something in his eyes, a loneliness she recognized because she carried it too. One dinner, she heard herself say. Tomorrow night. 7 o'clock. I'll pick you up. No, Cassandra said quickly. I'll meet you somewhere. Where? She thought fast. There's a small Italian place in Brooklyn, Bella Nota. It's nothing fancy. Perfect. Nathaniel's smile transformed his face, making him look almost boyish. I'll see you tomorrow. Cassandra left before she could change her mind, stepping out into the cool night air. She walked 3 blocks before letting herself check the envelope. $800, 300 more than agreed. Her hands shook as she tucked it into her bag. What was she doing? The next morning, Cassandra woke to her phone buzzing insistently. Unknown number, she answered groggily. Hello? Miss Monroe, this is Patricia Chen from Hartley Investments. Mr. Hartley asked me to confirm your dinner reservation for this evening and to see if you need transportation. Cassandra sat up, suddenly wide awake. Transportation? A car service, Miss Monroe. Mr. Ward, Hartley wants to ensure you arrive safely. No, Cassandra said firmly. I'll take the subway. Thank you. There was a pause. Are you certain? The neighborhood can be difficult to navigate. I've lived in this city my entire life. I'll be fine. Another pause. Very well. Is there anything else you need? Yes, actually. What's Nathaniel's favorite color? The question seemed to catch Patricia off guard. I'm sorry. His favorite color. If I'm having dinner with him, I should know something real about him, not just his net worth. Patricia's voice warmed slightly. Navy blue. And he takes his coffee black, reads thriller novels he pretends are business books. And despite what the media says, he volunteers at a children's literacy program every Saturday morning. Thank you, Patricia. My pleasure, Miss Monroe. And, if I may say, it's good to see Mr. Hartley interested in someone genuine. The call ended, leaving Cassandra staring at her phone. What had she gotten herself into? The day dragged endlessly. Cassandra tried to work on editing a manuscript, but her mind kept wandering to navy blue eyes and accidental smiles. At 6, she stood in front of her meager closet, staring at her limited options. Everything looked shabby, worn, insufficient. Finally, she chose a simple black dress she'd bought on clearance 2 years ago, paired it with her only nice shoes, and hoped it would be enough. At 6:45, she descended into the subway, the envelope of cash safely deposited in her bank account that morning. The subway car was crowded, smelling of too many bodies and stale air, a far cry from last night's champagne and crystal. This was real life. Nathaniel was probably regretting the invitation already. She arrived at Bella Nata 10 minutes early, nerves making her palms sweat. The restaurant was exactly as she remembered, warm and cozy, with checkered tablecloths and the scent of garlic and fresh bread. She'd eaten here once, years ago, on a rare good day, when she'd sold 3 articles in 1 week. Cassandra? She turned. Nathaniel stood at the entrance, and for a moment, she didn't recognize him. Gone was the perfectly tailored suit. Instead, he wore dark jeans, a navy sweater, and looked startlingly normal. His hair was slightly mussed, as if he'd run his hands through it nervously. You came, she said, unable to hide her surprise. You thought I wouldn't? I thought you'd come to your senses. He smiled, walking closer. I tried. Turns out sense is overrated. They were shown to a small table in the corner, intimate and quiet. The waiter brought menus, water, and breadsticks without fanfare. No sommeliers, no elaborate presentations, just simple, honest food. This is different from last night, Nathaniel said, looking around with what seemed like genuine pleasure. That's the point. Cassandra broke a breadstick in half. I wanted to see if you could handle normal. And? Can you? He leaned back, considering. Ask me again in an hour. They ordered pasta for her, chicken marsala for him, and a bottle of house wine that probably cost less than 1 glass from the previous night. And then, without the pressure of performance, they talked. Really talked. Cassandra learned that Nathaniel had wanted to be an architect, but family pressure had pushed him into finance. That he'd built his company from the ground up after his father's retirement, determined to prove he was more than just a legacy. That he secretly hated formal events and would rather spend evenings reading than networking. In return, she told him about her childhood, raised by a single mother who'd worked 3 jobs to keep them afloat. About her dream of writing novels that mattered, stories that gave people hope. About the fear that she'd never be more than barely surviving, always one emergency away from disaster. You're stronger than you think, Nathaniel said, his eyes intent on hers. Most people would have given up. Most people have better options. So do you. You just don't see them yet. The wine arrived, and they toasted to nothing in particular, glasses clinking in the dim candlelight. Cassandra felt the warmth spread through her. Though she suspected it had less to do with alcohol and more to do with the man across from her, seeing her in a way no one had in years. Tell me something true, Nathaniel said suddenly. Something you've never told anyone. Cassandra swirled her wine, considering. I'm terrified I'll never be enough. That no matter how hard I work, how many words I write, I'll always be the poor girl trying to play in a world that wasn't built for people like me. Nathaniel reached across the table, his hand covering hers. You're already enough, Cassandra. The world is wrong, not you. Her throat tightened with unexpected emotion. Your turn. Tell me something true. He was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, I've been lonely for so long, I forgot what connection felt like. Until last night, on that terrace, talking to you. For the first time in years, I felt like myself, not the role I play. Their food arrived, breaking the intensity of the moment, but the connection remained, thrumming between them like a live wire. They ate slowly, savoring both the meal and the conversation. Dessert was tiramisu they shared, trading bites and stories and laughter that felt effortless. When the check came, Cassandra reached for it, but Nathaniel was faster. This one's on me, he said. Next time, you can pay. Next time, she raised an eyebrow. Confident, aren't you? Hopeful. There's a difference. They walked out into the cool night, the street quiet except for distant traffic. Nathaniel's car and driver waited at the curb, but he made no move toward it. I don't want this to end, he admitted. Neither do I, Cassandra whispered. But we live in different worlds, Nathaniel. Last night proved that. Your mother looked at me like I was something she needed to scrape off her shoe. So we changed the world. His intensity caught her off guard. I'm serious, Cassandra. I've spent my entire life letting other people's expectations dictate my choices. I'm tired of it. And I'm tired of being someone's secret, of not being enough as I am. You are enough. Then prove it, she challenged, not with money or grand gestures. Prove that this, us, whatever this is, can exist outside of fancy restaurants and hotel penthouses. Nathaniel's eyes gleamed in the streetlight. Challenge accepted. 3 weeks later, Cassandra stood in her apartment doorway, staring at the email on her phone in disbelief. The message was from Sterling Publishing, one of the top literary agencies in New York. They'd received her manuscript, the one she'd been querying for months with no response, and they wanted to schedule a meeting. How did they even get it? She scrolled down. At the bottom of the email was a note. A mutual contact suggested we reach out to you. We're very impressed with your work. Cassandra's stomach dropped. Nathaniel. He wouldn't. Except he would. She grabbed her phone, dialing the number she'd added to her contacts after that first dinner, after the second dinner, after the coffee dates, and the long walks through Central Park, and the slow, terrifying realization that she was falling for someone completely wrong for her. Nathaniel answered on the second ring. Cassandra. Everything okay? Did you send my manuscript to Sterling Publishing? Silence. Then, I might have mentioned your work to a friend who works there. Might have. Her voice rose. Nathaniel. You can't use your connections to. I wanted them to see your talent. You're incredible, Cassandra. You deserve this opportunity. That's not your decision to make. She was shaking, anger and humiliation burning through her. This is exactly what I was afraid of. I'm not some charity case you get to fix. I never said you were. But you're treating me like one. Don't you see? If I get this meeting, I'll never know if it's because I'm actually good or because I'm sleeping with a billionaire. We're not sleeping together, Nathaniel said quietly. That's not the point. The point is, I can't trust this. I can't trust that anything in my life is real anymore because you keep interfering. I was trying to help. I don't need your help. I need to do this myself. She ended the call, her hands trembling. The email from Sterling glowed on her screen, promising everything she'd ever wanted, and she hated that it felt tainted now. She typed a response declining the meeting, hit send before she could reconsider, and burst into tears. For 2 days, Nathaniel tried to call, to text, to reach her. Cassandra ignored every attempt. She threw herself into work, editing manuscripts for clients who paid barely enough to cover groceries, proving to herself that she could make it without anyone's help. On the 3rd day, Patricia called. "Miss Monroe, I apologize for the intrusion, but Mr. Hartley is quite distraught. He's asked me to convey that he understands your anger and respects your wishes, but he'd like the opportunity to apologize in person. Tell him I don't want to see him." There was a long pause. "Miss Monroe, in the 5 years I've worked for Mr. Hartley, I've never seen him care about anyone the way he cares about you. Whatever happened, I believe his intentions were good, even if his methods were misguided. Good intentions don't erase the fact that he doesn't respect my independence. You're absolutely right, and you should tell him that yourself. He deserves to hear it." Patricia's words stayed with Cassandra. That evening, she found herself at the literacy center where Nathaniel volunteered, the information Patricia had shared weeks ago. She watched through the window as he sat with a small boy, patiently sounding out words, his entire focus on the child. There was no performance here, no audience to impress, just genuine care. When the session ended, she was waiting outside. Nathaniel stopped short when he saw her, hope and caution warring in his expression. "Cassandra." "Hi." They stood in awkward silence before Nathaniel gestured to a nearby bench. "Can we talk?" She nodded, settling onto the weathered wood. He sat carefully, leaving space between them. "I'm sorry," he started. "You were right. I overstepped. I thought I was helping, but I was really just trying to fix things the way I always do, with money and connections, because that's what I know. It wasn't about you being a charity case. It was about me being an idiot who doesn't know how to show he cares without throwing resources at problems." Cassandra hugged herself against the evening chill. I turned down the meeting. Nathaniel's head snapped up. "What?" "Why?" "Because I need to know I can make it on my own. Because I've spent my whole life being underestimated, and I refuse to get opportunities I didn't earn." "You did earn it, Cassandra. I didn't send them your manuscript. I mentioned in conversation that I'd met a talented writer. My friend asked if he could see your work, and I said I'd ask you. I assumed you'd submit it yourself. I never sent anything." She stared at him. "You're serious?" "I swear, I know I have a problem with trying to fix things, and I'm working on it. But I wouldn't sabotage your integrity like that. I respect you too much." Cassandra felt her anger deflate, replaced by uncertainty. "So they actually wanted to read my work? Based on my description of your talent, yes. But they can only make a decision based on what you submit. If you do, if." She thought about it, really thought about it. "I'll consider resubmitting, on my own terms. That's all I ask." Nathaniel's smile was tentative. "Can I ask you something?" "Shoot. Why did you come here tonight?" Cassandra looked at the literacy center, at the children's artwork displayed in the windows. "Because I realized something. You're not perfect. You're controlling, and you solve problems with money when you should solve them with communication. But you're also kind, and you genuinely care about people, not just their use to you. And she took a breath. "I missed you. These last 3 days have been awful." Nathaniel shifted closer, his hand finding hers. "They've been hell for me, too. I kept trying to work, and all I could think about was whether you were okay, whether I'd ruined everything, whether you hated me. I don't hate you. I'm frustrated with you, and we clearly need to work on communication. But I don't hate you. So where does that leave us? Cassandra turned to face him fully. It leaves us trying. Really trying. Not just playing at it. You have to let me fail on my own sometimes. And I have to trust that you're not trying to control me when you offer help. Deal. Nathaniel's thumb traced circles on her palm. Can I try something? Depends what it is. He leaned in slowly, giving her every chance to pull away. This. His kiss was gentle, questioning. Nothing like the confident businessman who'd hired her weeks ago. Cassandra's hands found his shoulders, pulling him closer, answering with her own desperate need for connection. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Nathaniel pressed his forehead to hers. I really care about you, Cassandra, more than I've cared about anyone in a very long time. I care about you too. That's what scares me. Why? Because people like me don't get happy endings with people like you. That's the rule. Then let's break the rule, Nathaniel whispered. Let's write our own story. Before Cassandra could respond, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and froze. What is it? It's an email from Sterling. They're asking if I've reconsidered the meeting. Apparently, your friend actually did read the sample chapters I'd submitted to another agent months ago. He wants to represent me. Nathaniel pulled back, excitement lighting his face. Cassandra, that's incredible. Without my connection? Just your writing? She read the email again, disbelief and joy warring inside her. Just my writing. He thinks it has real potential. So what are you going to do? Nathaniel asked, though his smile suggested he already knew. I'm going to that meeting. And I'm going to earn this, completely on my own merit. Nathaniel kissed her forehead. I never doubted you would. The meeting at Sterling Publishing was both terrifying and exhilarating. Cassandra sat across from Julian Sterling himself, a man whose name was synonymous with literary success, and defended her vision for her novel with a passion she didn't know she possessed. 2 hours later, she walked out with a representation contract and a head spinning with possibilities. She called Nathaniel immediately. He picked up before the first ring finished. Well? I have an agent. His whoop of joy was so loud she had to hold the phone away from her ear. Cassandra, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you. Thank you, she said, grinning like an idiot on the busy New York sidewalk, for believing in me even when I didn't believe in myself. That's what people who care about each other do. The words hung between them, weighted with meaning. Cassandra, Nathaniel, there's something you should know. My agent thinks with the right promotion, this book could be big. He wants to start building buzz, getting my name out there. That's good, isn't it? Yes. But there's more. Sterling Publishing. They're owned by a larger media conglomerate. What conglomerate? Hartley Media Group. Silence stretched across the line. Your family owns my publisher? Cassandra's stomach sank. Technically, yes. But it's completely separate from Hartley Investments. I have nothing to do with the publishing division. My cousin runs it. I swear, Cassandra, I didn't know Sterling was part of. You didn't know. How could you not know your own family's holdings? Because there are hundreds of companies under the Hartley umbrella. I can't track every subsidiary and acquisition. Cassandra, please, this doesn't change anything. Your work is still yours. Julian Sterling doesn't even report to my side of the family. It changes everything. Don't you see? No matter what I accomplish, people will think I got it because of you. Because I'm the billionaire's girlfriend. You're not my girlfriend. The words came out harder than he'd intended. What? We've never actually, I don't even know what we are. Cassandra felt like she'd been slapped. Right. Of course. We're just two people who happen to share a few dinners and kisses. Nothing serious. That's not what I meant, isn't it? Because it sounds like you're saying exactly what I've been afraid of all along. that this is just a temporary thing for you. A diversion from your real life. Cassandra, no. I care about you. Caring isn't enough, Nathaniel. She was shaking now, people passing her on the sidewalk giving her strange looks. I need someone who's all in, who isn't afraid to claim me publicly, who doesn't keep me separate from the important parts of their life. Can you honestly say you're ready for that? Tell me the truth. Are you ashamed of me? What? No, Cassandra, how could you? Then introduce me to your business partners. Bring me to your company events. Let me meet the people who matter in your world as your actual girlfriend, not as some woman you hired for a dinner. He faltered. It's complicated. There it is. Cassandra laughed bitterly. It's always complicated when rich people want to keep poor people at arm's length. You're being unfair, am I? Because from where I'm standing, you're perfectly happy to have me in private, but not in public. Just like every other powerful man who's ever slummed it with someone beneath their station. I never thought of you that way. Actions speak louder than words, Nathaniel. Call me when you figure out what you actually want. She ended the call and turned off her phone, tears streaming down her face as she walked aimlessly through the city. Everything she'd been afraid of was coming true. She was the poor girl playing pretend in a world that would never accept her. That night, Cassandra drafted an email to Julian Sterling declining the representation. She stared at it for hours, cursor hovering over send. This was her dream, but it was poisoned now, connected to Nathaniel in ways she couldn't escape. Finally, she closed the laptop without sending it and cried herself to sleep. The next morning, she woke to pounding on her door. Groggily, she stumbled to answer it, expecting her neighbor complaining about noise. Instead, Victoria Hartley stood in her shabby hallway, immaculate in a cream suit that probably cost more than Cassandra's yearly rent. Mrs. Hartley, what are you doing here? We need to talk. Victoria brushed past her into the small apartment, her critical gaze taking in the worn furniture, the piles of books, the single window overlooking a fire escape. Victoria turned to face her, and Cassandra braced for judgment. Instead, Victoria's expression was complicated, resigned. I know my son cares about you, and against my better judgment, I can see why. You have integrity. You challenged him when everyone else caters to him. Cassandra crossed her arms, defensive. Is there a but coming? Yes. Victoria sat delicately on the edge of Cassandra's second-hand couch. But I'm not sure you understand what you're asking of him. Excuse me? Do you know what Nathaniel's life is actually like? The constant scrutiny, the board members questioning every decision, the media analyzing every relationship. Being with him means living in that fishbowl. It means people assuming you're after his money, analyzing every outfit you wear, every word you say. It means his enemies becoming your enemies. With all due respect, Mrs. Hartley, I think I can handle, can you? Victoria's eyes were sharp, because the moment Nathaniel makes your relationship public, you'll be investigated. Your finances, your history, your family. They'll find every mistake you've ever made and broadcast it. Your struggling mother will be portrayed as a gold digger who taught you her ways. Your poverty will be dissected as evidence you're using my son. Can you handle watching him defend you constantly? Watching your relationship become a business liability? Cassandra's throat tightened. Why are you telling me this? Because I need to know if you're going to stay when it gets hard, or if you'll run at the first scandal. My son has been hurt before by women who loved the idea of him, but couldn't handle the reality. I won't watch him go through that again. I love him, Cassandra said, the words surprising her even as she spoke them. But I don't know if love is enough when he can't even introduce me as his girlfriend without hesitating. Victoria studied her for a long moment. Do you know why Nathaniel has been alone for so long? No. Because the last woman he loved sold private details of their relationship to a tabloid for $500,000. She told the world his vulnerabilities, his fears, his secrets, all for money. It destroyed him. He spent years building walls so high that no one could hurt him again. And then you came along and somehow got past them. He's terrified, Miss Monroe. Not of you, but of being destroyed again. Cassandra sank onto her desk chair, processing this. He never told me. He wouldn't. He keeps that pain locked away where no one can touch it. Victoria's expression softened slightly. But I'm telling you, because you deserve to know what you're walking into. My son isn't perfect. He's controlling because he's afraid of chaos. He solves problems with money because it's the only tool he trusts. But underneath all of that, he's a good man who wants desperately to be loved for who he is, not what he has. I know that, Cassandra whispered. Then decide, Miss Monroe. Are you brave enough to fight for him? Or will you run at the first obstacle? Victoria stood, smoothing her suit. For what it's worth, I hope you stay. He's been more alive these past weeks than I've seen him in years. And that's because of you. With that, Victoria left, leaving Cassandra alone with her thoughts. She pulled out her phone, staring at Nathaniel's contact information. 37 missed calls, 15 text messages, escalating from apologetic to desperate to resigned. The last one, sent at 3 a.m., simply read, "I'm sorry I'm not brave enough. I understand if you're done." Cassandra's hands shook as she typed a response. "Meet me at our bench, the Literacy Center. 1 hour." His reply came instantly. "I'll be there." 58 minutes later, Cassandra approached the bench where they'd reconciled before. Nathaniel was already waiting, looking exhausted, his usual polish missing. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, his hair uncombed, his shirt wrinkled. He'd been suffering too. "I talked to your mother," Cassandra said without preamble. Nathaniel's head jerked up. "She came to see you? To warn me about what being with you would cost. And to tell me about your ex." His jaw tightened. "She had no right. She had every right. Because you should have told me yourself." Cassandra sat beside him, close enough to touch, but not touching. "Nathaniel, I can't be with someone who doesn't trust me with their pain. I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm asking you to be honest." "I was trying to protect you," he said quietly. "From what?" "From my mess. From the ugliness of my past. From yourself," Cassandra finished. "You were trying to protect yourself, which is understandable. But it's not fair to me." Nathaniel turned to face her, and she saw the raw vulnerability in his eyes. "You're right. You're absolutely right. And I'm terrified. Of course you are." She reached for his hand. "But you can't let fear make your decisions. Neither can I. I've been so focused on maintaining my independence that I forgot relationships require interdependence. I've been punishing you for trying to help, when maybe I should have just communicated better about what kind of help I need." "We're both disasters," Nathaniel said, a small smile tugging at his lips. "Complete disasters. But maybe we can be disasters together." He pulled her hand to his chest, over his heart. She could feel it racing. "Cassandra Monroe, I am absolutely terrified of how much I care about you. I'm terrified of losing you, of not being enough, of my world crushing who you are. But I'm more terrified of living without you. So yes, you're my girlfriend. Not my secret, not my companion, my actual girlfriend. And if people have a problem with that, they can take it up with me. What about your board? What about the media scrutiny? We'll deal with it. Together." He cupped her face in his hands. I'm done being afraid. I'm done letting other people's expectations run my life. I want you, Cassandra, all of you, openly and honestly. Even if it costs me, especially if it costs me. Because you're worth more than any business deal, any social standing, any family approval. You see me, the real me, and you don't run. That's worth fighting for. Cassandra felt tears spill over. I love you, you impossible, complicated man. Nathaniel's smile was radiant. I love you too. Say it again. I love you. He kissed her then, deep and desperate, pouring weeks of frustration and fear and hope into the connection. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard, foreheads pressed together. So what now? Cassandra asked. Now we face the world. Together. Starting with dinner tonight, I'm taking you to the Hartley Foundation Gala. Black tie, 500 guests, every major player in New York society. And I'm introducing you as my girlfriend. Cassandra's eyes widened. That's intense. Too much? No. She straightened her shoulders. But I'm going to need a dress. Nathaniel grinned. I know a designer who owes me a favor. Absolutely not. I'm buying my own dress. With what budget? Cassandra glared at him. I have savings from the money you paid me. Her cheeks flushed, which now seems incredibly awkward. Best $800 I ever spent. Nathaniel stood, pulling her up with him. Come on, we're going shopping. Together. And you're buying your dress, but I'm buying you jewelry because that's what boyfriends do. That's what controlling boyfriends do, Cassandra corrected. But she was smiling. I'm working on it. Baby steps. 6 hours later, Cassandra stood in front of her bathroom mirror, barely recognizing herself. The dress was midnight blue, simple but elegant, hugging her curves without being ostentatious. She'd found it at a consignment shop, affordable but beautiful. Her hair was twisted up, a few curls framing her face. Minimal makeup, just enough to feel confident. A knock at her door made her heart race. She opened it to find Nathaniel in a perfectly tailored tuxedo, looking every inch the billionaire he was. But his eyes, when they landed on her, held nothing but awe. Cassandra, you're stunning. You clean up pretty well yourself. He held out a small box. I know you said no gifts, but these were my grandmother's. She gave them to me years ago and told me to give them to the woman I loved. If you're not comfortable wearing them, I understand. But I wanted you to have them. Cassandra opened the box. Inside was a pair of diamond earrings, simple and classic. Nothing ostentatious, but clearly valuable. They're beautiful. My grandmother was a lot like you. She came from nothing, married my grandfather, when everyone said she was after his money, and proved them all wrong. She built half the charitable foundations that carry our family name. She was strong and kind, and took absolutely no nonsense from anyone. I think she would have liked you. Cassandra's throat tightened as she carefully put on the earrings. How do I look? Like you belong. Not because of the dress or the jewelry, but because you're you. And you belong anywhere you choose to be. Ready to face the sharks? Cassandra took his offered arm. With you? Always. The Hartley Foundation Gala was held in one of Manhattan's most prestigious hotels. The ballroom a sea of designer gowns and tuxedos, champagne and soft classical music. Cassandra felt every eye turn toward them as they entered. Whispers followed them like shadows. Who is she? Is that really Nathaniel Hartley with a date? I heard she's nobody, just some writer. Nathaniel's hand tightened on hers. Ignore them. Easier said than done. Marcus appeared first, champagne in hand, grinning widely. Well, well, the ice prince melts, and look who's responsible. Cassandra, you look incredible. Thank you, Marcus. You look surprised to see me. Surprised? I'm delighted. Mother's about to have a stroke, which is always entertaining. Speaking of which, Victoria approached, her expression unreadable. She looked between Nathaniel and Cassandra, then smiled, small but genuine. "Miss Monroe, I'm glad you decided to join us. You look lovely." "Thank you, Mrs. Hartley. Your earrings." Victoria's eyes widened slightly. "Those were Eleanor's." "Yes." Nathaniel's voice was firm. "I gave them to Cassandra because she reminds me of grandmother. Strong, principled, and unwilling to compromise herself for anyone." Victoria's expression softened completely. Eleanor would approve. She always said this family needed more backbone and less pretense. "Welcome, Cassandra." Before Cassandra could respond, a woman in a red dress that probably cost more than a car approached, her smile sharp as knives. "Nathaniel, darling, aren't you going to introduce me to your little friend?" The condescension was unmistakable. Nathaniel's expression went cold. "Cassandra, this is Vivian Ashford. Vivian, my girlfriend. Cassandra Monroe." The emphasis on girlfriend was deliberate. Vivian's smile tightened. "How quaint. And what is it you do, Cassandra?" "I'm a writer." "Oh, how lovely. Self-published. Actually, I just signed with Sterling Publishing. I'm writing my first novel." Vivian's laugh was brittle. "Sterling? Isn't that owned by the Hartley family? How convenient." Cassandra felt her cheeks burn, but before she could respond, Nathaniel stepped forward, his voice cutting. "Vivian, I'm going to say this once, and I suggest you listen carefully. Cassandra earned her representation through talent, not connections. Julian Sterling is one of the most respected agents in the industry, and he doesn't sign clients as favors. If you're implying otherwise, you're not only wrong, you're being deliberately cruel. And if I hear you or anyone else suggesting that Cassandra is with me for anything other than genuine feeling, you'll find yourself disinvited from every event the Hartley Foundation sponsors. Am I clear?" The nearby conversations had stopped. Everyone was watching. Vivian's face went pale. "Nathaniel, I didn't mean—" "Yes, you did. Now, if you'll excuse us, I'd like to dance with my girlfriend." He led Cassandra to the dance floor, pulling her into his arms as a waltz began. She was shaking, adrenaline and emotion flooding through her. That was intense. Overdue. Nathaniel's eyes were fierce. "No one gets to treat you like that. Not in front of me, not ever. You just made an enemy." "I made a statement." He spun her gently. "That you matter to me. That I'm done pretending to be who people expect. If they can't accept that, they're not people I need in my life." Cassandra looked up at him. This man who'd been so controlled, so careful, now burning bridges for her. "You're sure? About this? About us? I've never been more sure of anything." The dance continued, and gradually, Cassandra noticed other couples joining them on the floor. Marcus winked as he spun past with his own date. Jonathan Hartley gave them a small, approving nod from across the room. Even Victoria was smiling. But not everyone was pleased. Cassandra spotted a group of older men in the corner, their expressions disapproving, their conversation clearly about Nathaniel and her. Board members, she guessed. The people who controlled Nathaniel's company, who could make his professional life difficult. "Nathaniel," she murmured, "your board members don't look happy." "I know. Does it matter?" "It might. For your business. Cassandra." He stopped dancing, right there in the middle of the floor, and cupped her face in his hands. "Listen to me. I have spent my entire life making decisions based on what was good for the business, for the family, for everyone except myself. I'm done. If they have a problem with you, they have a problem with me. And if they want to push the issue, I'll remind them that I built Hartley Investments into what it is today. I'm not some legacy heir playing with Daddy's money. I earned my position, and I'll defend it. But not at your expense. Not anymore. Tears pricked at Cassandra's eyes. I don't want to cost you everything you've worked for. You won't. You're giving me something to work for beyond money and power. You're giving me a reason to build a life, not just a business. The music swelled around them, and Nathaniel leaned in, kissing her softly despite the 100 eyes watching. When he pulled back, the ballroom erupted in whispers, but Cassandra didn't care anymore. Let them talk. The rest of the evening was a blur. Cassandra met dozens of people, their reactions ranging from genuinely warm to coldly polite. She fielded questions about her background with as much grace as she could muster, refused to be intimidated by women in diamonds that cost more than houses, and stood by Nathaniel's side as an equal, not an accessory. Near the end of the night, as they stood on the balcony overlooking the glittering city, Nathaniel pulled her close. Thank you. For what? For being brave enough to be here, for not letting them make you feel small, for loving me anyway. Cassandra rested her head on his shoulder. Thank you for fighting for us, for being willing to risk everything. Not everything. Nathaniel kissed the top of her head. The things that matter, I'm keeping. You're at the top of that list. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the city breathe below them. Cassandra, Nathaniel said quietly. Yes? Move in with me. She pulled back to look at him. What? I know it's fast. I know we're still figuring this out. But I don't want to spend another night without you. I don't want to navigate this world without you by my side. Move into my penthouse. Bring your books, your laptop, your terrible instant coffee. Make it a home instead of just a place I sleep. Nathaniel, that's huge. I know. Take time to think about it. I just wanted you to know that I'm all in. Completely. Terrifyingly all in. Cassandra looked at this man who'd started as a stranger, hiring her for a fake dinner, and had become the person she trusted most in the world. The answer should have terrified her. Instead, it felt like coming home. Yes. Nathaniel's eyes widened. Yes? Yes. I'll move in with you. But I'm bringing my terrible furniture too, because your place needs some character. Deal. He kissed her again, deeper this time, and Cassandra felt the last of her walls crumble. This was real. This was forever. And she was ready. 3 months later, Cassandra woke in Nathaniel's penthouse, morning light streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. The space had changed since she'd moved in. Her second-hand bookshelf stood proudly against one wall, overflowing with worn paperbacks. Her desk occupied a corner by the window, where she spent hours writing. Small touches of her life, her mother's quilt on the back of the couch, her collection of vintage teacups, made the pristine space feel lived in. She found Nathaniel in the kitchen, attempting to make breakfast. The coffee was burned, the eggs were questionable, but the effort made her smile. "Morning," he said, kissing her forehead. "I was trying to surprise you, but I think I've created a health hazard instead. It's the thought that counts." Cassandra rescued the eggs before they could char completely. "Besides, you have other talents." Nathaniel grinned. "Name one." "You're excellent at negotiating multi-million-dollar deals, less useful for breakfast." They ate together, trading sections of the newspaper, comfortable in the routine they'd built. Cassandra's book was nearly finished, her agent excited about its prospects. Nathaniel's company was thriving, his board grudgingly accepting that his personal life hadn't destroyed his professional judgment. Everything was perfect, which should have been Cassandra's first warning. The call came mid-morning. Cassandra was deep in edits when her phone rang, an unknown number. "Hello, Miss Monroe. This is Rebecca Chen from the New York Chronicle." I'm working on a story, and I'd like to get your comment. Cassandra's stomach dropped. What kind of story? We've received information about your relationship with Nathaniel Hartley, specifically about how it started. I'm told you were hired as a paid escort for a family dinner. Is that true? Cassandra's blood turned to ice. Where did you hear that? So you're not denying it? Our source is very reliable. They've provided bank records showing a payment from Mr. Hartley to you, followed by regular deposits over several months. The amounts suggest an arrangement beyond a simple relationship. Would you care to comment? No comment. Miss Monroe, this story is running tomorrow, with or without your input. Don't you think? Cassandra ended the call, her hands shaking. Nathaniel emerged from his office, concern on his face. What's wrong? Someone leaked our story, the real story, about how we met. His expression went dark. Who? I don't know, but they have bank records. The journalist mentioned regular deposits. Nathaniel, you haven't been paying me, have you? Of course not. Not since. He stopped, realization dawning. The book advance. Your agent had the payments sent to your account monthly, instead of in a lump sum for tax purposes. I helped set it up through our accounting department. Oh God, anyone looking at those deposits without context would think that I've been paying you to be my girlfriend. Nathaniel ran his hands through his hair. This is my fault. I should have been more careful. What do? We tell the truth, about all of it. Nathaniel, if we admit you hired me initially, it'll look exactly like they're saying. Like our entire relationship has been a transaction. So we tell the whole story. How it started as a business arrangement and became real. How we fell in love despite the circumstances. People will understand. Cassandra wanted to believe him, but fear gnawed at her. Or they'll see a poor girl who found a meal ticket and a rich man too foolish to see he's being used. That's not what this is. I know that. But will they? The article ran the next morning. It was worse than Cassandra had imagined. Billionaire's bought girlfriend, the headline screamed. The story painted Cassandra as a calculating opportunist who'd leveraged a one-night acting job into a permanent position as Nathaniel's kept woman. They dug into her financial struggles, her mother's history of debt, even found old classmates who claimed Cassandra had always been ambitious, willing to do anything to escape poverty. The photos were worse. One showed her outside the hotel that first night, looking nervous and out of place. The caption read, "Going to work." Her phone exploded with messages, reporters, old acquaintances, even strangers weighing in on her character. Social media was brutal. She trended on Twitter for all the wrong reasons. Nathaniel's publicist called an emergency meeting. They sat in his office, Cassandra numb with shock, while a team of professionals discussed damage control. We need to deny everything, the publicist, Amanda, said firmly. Claim the source is lying, threaten legal action. But they have proof of the initial payment, Nathaniel argued. If we deny and they prove we're lying, it's worse. Then we spin it. You hired Cassandra for legitimate work, consulting or editing services. The relationship developed naturally afterward. That's still lying, Cassandra said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. She straightened in her chair. If we lie, even by omission, we prove we're ashamed of how we met. We prove they're right to judge us. Miss Monroe, Amanda's voice was patient but condescending. I understand you want to be honest, but in situations like this, honesty is rarely the best policy. The public doesn't want the truth. They want a story that confirms their biases. If we give them the truth, they'll crucify you both. Maybe. Cassandra looked at Nathaniel. But if we lie, I'll always wonder if we did it because deep down, We believed we had something to be ashamed of. Nathaniel reached for her hand. What do you want to do? Tell the truth. All of it. In our own words, before they can twist it further. Amanda shook her head. That's professional suicide. For both of you. Then I guess we're committing suicide together. Nathaniel stood, his decision made. Set up a press conference. This afternoon. We'll tell our story, the real story, and let the chips fall where they may. Amanda looked between them, clearly thinking they were insane. I strongly advise against this. Noted. Now set it up. As the team filed out, Cassandra and Nathaniel sat alone in his office. Are you sure about this? She asked. No. He pulled her into his arms. But I'm sure about you. And I'm sure that I don't want to build our life on lies, even convenient ones. If the world can't handle the truth about how we fell in love, that's their problem, not ours. What if we lose everything? Then we rebuild. Together. The press conference was set for 5 p.m. Nathaniel's publicist had tried one last time to talk them out of it, then grimly prepared for what she clearly saw as a disaster. Cassandra stood backstage, listening to the rumble of reporters gathering in the conference room. Her stomach churned with nerves. Nathaniel squeezed her hand, then stepped up to the microphone. Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. I'm here with Cassandra Monroe to address the story that ran this morning in the Chronicle. Rather than issuing denials or spinning the narrative, we've decided to tell you the truth. All of it. He paused, his eyes finding Cassandra in the wings. She stepped out to join him, and camera flashes exploded like stars. 4 months ago, I hired Cassandra to accompany me to a family dinner. I paid her $500 to pretend to be my girlfriend for one evening, because I was tired of my family's pressure about my personal life, and I thought a business transaction would be simpler than a real relationship. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Nathaniel continued, his voice steady. It was supposed to be one night, a simple arrangement with no complications. But something unexpected happened. I met someone real. Someone who saw through all the pretense and money and power to who I actually was. Someone who challenged me, who made me want to be better. Someone I fell in love with. He turned to Cassandra, and she saw nothing but honesty in his eyes. Cassandra didn't ask me for anything. In fact, she spent the past months refusing my help, insisting on earning everything herself. She turned down opportunities because she was afraid people would think exactly what you're thinking now, that she's with me for my money. But the truth is, I'm the one who benefited from our arrangement. She gave me something I'd forgotten how to have, a genuine connection. Cassandra stepped up to the microphone, her voice shaking slightly. I was struggling financially when I answered Nathaniel's ad. I needed money for rent, for bills, for survival. I'm not ashamed of that. Poverty isn't a moral failing. But I am ashamed that I let people make me feel like my worth was connected to my bank account. The truth is, yes, our relationship started transactionally, but it became something else. It became love. Real, messy, complicated love between two people who were both afraid of being hurt, but brave enough to try anyway. A reporter shouted a question. Miss Monroe, how do we know this isn't still an arrangement? That you're not being paid to say this? Cassandra met the reporter's eyes directly. You don't. You have to decide whether to believe me or not. But I'll tell you this. I signed a book deal based on my own merit. I work every day on my writing, not because it makes money, though I hope it will, but because it matters to me. I could live very comfortably on Nathaniel's wealth without working at all. Instead, I get up at 6 a.m. every morning to write, because my independence matters to me. Another reporter called out, Mr. Hartley, what does your board think about this scandal? Nathaniel's smile was grim. Some of them think I've lost my mind. Others understand that my personal life doesn't affect my professional judgment. And if the board decides they can't work with me because I fell in love with a woman who doesn't come from wealth, then I'll step down and start something new, because I'm not willing to sacrifice my relationship for a corporation. Gasps and murmurs erupted. Nathaniel raised his hand for quiet. But I don't think it'll come to that, because at the end of the day, I've made Hartley Investments more profitable than ever. I've expanded our portfolio, increased our market share, and maintained our reputation. My competence isn't connected to who I love, and if anyone thinks it is, they're confusing business with prejudice. "What about the regular payments?" a reporter demanded. "The bank records show ongoing deposits." "Those are from Cassandra's book advance," Nathaniel explained. "Her agent structured the payments monthly. I helped coordinate it through our accounting department as a favor, the same way I'd help any friend navigate financial planning. If that's evidence of impropriety, then everyone who's ever helped a loved one with their taxes is guilty." Cassandra took a breath, then said something she hadn't planned. "I want to add something. When I was struggling, when I couldn't pay rent and was eating ramen for every meal, I felt invisible. Society treats poverty like a choice, like a character flaw. But I worked 2 jobs. I had a college degree. I did everything right. And I still couldn't make ends meet. That's the real scandal. Not that I accepted money for a legitimate job, but that our economy makes it so hard for people to survive that accepting $500 for dinner feels like winning the lottery." The room went quiet. Cassandra continued, gaining confidence. "Nathaniel and I come from different worlds, but we found something real in each other. And if our story makes people uncomfortable, maybe it's because it challenges the idea that love should stay within class boundaries. Maybe it's because people don't want to believe that a rich man could genuinely love a poor woman without it being a transaction. But that says more about society's cynicism than it does about us." Nathaniel wrapped his arm around her waist. "We're not asking for approval. We're simply telling you the truth and letting you decide what to do with it. We love each other. We're building a life together. And we're done apologizing for how we met." With that, they left the podium, ignoring the shouted questions, and walked out of the conference room hand in hand. The fallout was immediate and chaotic. Social media exploded with opinions. Some people praised their honesty, calling them brave for admitting the truth. Others doubled down on criticism, insisting it proved Cassandra was a gold digger. Think pieces appeared analyzing everything from economic inequality to modern romance. But something unexpected happened. People started sharing their own stories. Women who'd struggled financially and been judged for dating wealthier men. Men who'd been accused of being used when they'd simply fallen in love. Couples who'd met in unconventional ways and faced societal skepticism. The narrative began to shift. 2 weeks after the press conference, Cassandra sat in Nathaniel's office, watching him on a video call with his board. She couldn't hear the conversation, but she could see the tension in his shoulders. Finally, he ended the call and turned to her. "Well?" The board voted. "I keep my position." Cassandra's relief was overwhelming. "And your relationship with me? Not their business, as long as my performance doesn't suffer. They're not happy about the publicity, but the company's stock actually rose after the press conference. Apparently, honesty is good for business." "Who knew?" He pulled her into his arms. "It's over. The worst is behind us." Cassandra wanted to believe it, but she knew better. There would always be whispers, always be judgment. But maybe that was okay. Maybe perfect acceptance wasn't the goal. Maybe just having each other was enough. 6 months later, they stood in a small garden, surrounded by the people who mattered. No elaborate wedding, no society pages. Just family and close friends. Cassandra wore a simple white dress. Nathaniel looked at her like she'd hung the moon. As they exchanged vows they'd written themselves, promising honesty, partnership, and endless cups of terrible coffee, Cassandra realized something. Their story hadn't started perfectly. It had started with desperation and pretense and fear. But it had become something real, something worth fighting for. And that made it perfect enough. Nathaniel kissed her as their friends cheered, and Cassandra knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they'd face them together. Not as billionaire and hired girlfriend, but as partners, equals, and the truest kind of love story of all. One that was messy, real, and entirely their own. What did you think of their story? Share your thoughts in the comments on a scale from 0 to 10. What's your rating? Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to follow all our stories and check out more emotional stories by clicking on the end screen.